Every time you throw a piece of plastic, it can be found in rivers, lakes, oceans, or it can flow through thousands of kilometers from a small river and end up in the Pacific garbage path. Your coffee cup, water bottle, toothbrush, that may all float miles to end up in those shores inside the birds and sand. Eventually, all this plastic may end up inside you. Dmitry Medvedev, the Ryerson graduate, has brought up the topic about the amounts of garbage that contains in the sea and tries to go deeper into the question that our society is concerned about. The commentary will be focused on the issue itself, possible solutions towards the issue, and the actions which must be taken towards our great, clean future. At the end, you should be having an understanding of feasible it or not for humans to create and spread around the world the machine that collects floating plastics in the Great Lakes and oceans. The halfway between North America and Asia, Midway, is one of the most remote places on the planet where the tide leaves a line of trash all along the beach. The things you might find there, like plastic bottles, shoe pair, used cups, and many more, can be found in many other islands in the Pacific area. In fact, none of that waste was used or brought there. It all floated here through thousands of miles over the months. Humans use those plastic products for a minute or two, but it joins the waterways, takes decades to break down, maybe even longer, whereas the most of it joins the Great Pacific Garbage Path. The path isn't easy to see, offered an almost invisible super of tiny particles made when larger bits of plastic break down pound by pound. In fact, by 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Colonies of albatross swoop into the sea and catch their sea life. But the more and more of the catch is just likely to have a brand name on it. As fins, they mistake the billions of plastic bits floating in it to be fish. In this image, one of the rangers is about to check what is inside the bird's stomach, and it ends up there are tons of plastic found in it, which resulted to death of this bird. After the bird dies, it lays on the ground, where the bones disappear, the feathers disappear, but what will stay is all those pieces of plastic found on the ground. It's not only about the issue of plastics in the ocean. It is not about the biggest pieces that people get most concerned about. It's down on the surface of the beach, of tiny brightly colored different specks. These are something called microplastics, and they are all over the beach. Microplastics are tiny particles created when larger plastic items, toothbrushes, water bottles, bags, break down over decades. They float in the water and get eaten by sea life, fish, turtles, sharks, etc. What happens when humans eat the fish which ate microplastics? Are plastics inside us? Well, scientists said that plastics are definitely in our food chain and drinking water. This isn't something will be happening in 2050, not even 2030. This is something happening right now. People really need to start thinking about real actions, as some people rely on oceans for their food, which won't survive in poisoned water. Another major problem are pieces of styrofoam packing slowly, turning into a soup. It is basically a magnet for toxics and chemicals in the water. The more it degrades, the more poisonous it becomes, a floating island of chemicals. This is the cost of our convenience world, of the tiny disposal choices we make by throwing something away, often several times an hour. And this is just the beginning of what choices we are doing to our planet and our future. Engineers from New Zealand have presented their solution. They have created a concept which might help with the ocean cleanup. The idea was, why move through the ocean if the ocean can move through you? This passive system, which would really allow the natural ocean current to do all the hard work for us. The model has a V shape, so the plastic would concentrate toward the center, where it would then easily be stored before shipping to the land for recycling. Let's describe the system in 3 points. So, the first of all, it is strong, probably the strongest floating barrier anywhere in the world. It is made out of different layers of rubber, polyester, fabric. It is designed to survive loads of up to 80 tons. Secondly, it is quite big. It is about 1/2 meters below the water and 1/2 meter above the water. It was done in those sizes as it would be able to catch pieces of small as just a few millimeters but also as large as ghost net, which is survival material in the cross. Lastly, it is smart. It has many sensors such as motion sensor in the barrier that are able to detect even if seagull would land on it. Plus, it has camera system so that it will allow the monitors system from the mission control the 24/7. Cleaning oceans isn't the only thing humans should focus on, as the most important thing is to destroy the origin where it comes from. The best examples so far have been shown by Japan. Everyone is required to sort all the rubbish in Japan. The system of garbage disposal is arranged in such a way that citizens have no other way of getting rid of garbage, except for separating one by one. If, on the garbage pickup day, the garbage will be put outside unsorted, they simply won't take it. They'll just leave it there and attach a sticker with a warning. In order to keep citizens remained at the proper level, the government particularly reminds them that illegal discharge of garbage is a criminal offense, punished by imprisonment for up to 5 years and a fine of 10 million yens. Many foreigners who first come to Japan are shocked by 2 things: cleanliness in the streets and the almost complete absence of garbage cans, which once again proves the simplest truth. Truly, not where they clean well, but where people do not litter themselves. Another important thing is that Japanese are using the ashes from the burned and reduced garbage towards creating new islands. Yearly, about 500,000 of recycled waste are burned into the ocean towards creating new islands. Then covers it with the layers of earth and later on plants trees. The interesting fact is the Olympic Village for Summer Games, which will be held in Tokyo in 2020, are being built on one of those islands. As a result, if countries around the world start following Japanese steps, then we won't have huge amounts of garbage being unrecycled and thrown into the water, which later might end up in one of the garbage path or in the beaches around the world. Although, as garbage stops entering the water, then it will be faster to collect it and recycle it. All this previous waste which have been thrown into the ocean will be collected twice faster, as we don't have to collect the new waste which was thrown literally a second ago.